So our organization is the International Functional Fitness Federation, and our sport is functional fitness. We're a relatively new sport, so some people may not have heard of functional fitness or know what it is. But basically, what we do is we use a variety of movements to test athletes' abilities across a wide range of different types of athletic capacities. So we test their endurance, their strength, their ability to move their own body weight, their ability to do high skilled movements, their power output, and then we test their ability to put all of those together and do all of those movements combined. In functional fitness, a lot of the sport is involved around this concept that you can do the sport throughout the entire lifespan. So we're focusing right now on our Sport for All programs, really on the youth side of things, and trying to get more kids, more youth athletes involved in the sport. So for us, because our sport uses they lift weights, and because it involves doing movements at a fast pace and a high intensity, there's sometimes this perception that the sport is not safe for children, which is not true. So a lot of our work right now and working on Sport for All for the kids is making sure that we're really clear on how kids can participate safely in the sport. So what we have done is we've really created sort of an own version for kids to get involved in the sport. At the younger age groups, what we've been doing is encouraging the kids to just move for the love of movement and for the sake of movement and for the sake of having fun. So we do more challenge, we call them kind of movement challenges for kids who are under 12, where they're given tasks and they have to kind of be creative to figure out how to move their bodies to complete the tasks in a safe way. And those are not scored. Those are just sort of fun events for the kids to participate in. Once the kids get over 12, when they're in that 13 to kind of 18 range, we give them a more formalized version of the sport to participate in, and that it's not quite the same as the way adults participate. They still complete what we call tests, where they have to test their endurance and their ability to move their own body weight and their strength, but we also add a technique component for the kids. So the kids are assessed when they come to the events on how good their technique is to make sure that they're staying safe. So we just actually it was our first live event for the kids in the 13 to 18 age group 2 weeks ago now in Sweden. And we had, kids from all over the world come in and participate in the sport. They were next to the adults, so they got to feel like it was kind of a big fun event, but they do their own version of the sport. And we had kids from, all continents coming in and playing the sport. Sport for All is really important to us in functional fitness, because really when we look at the history of functional fitness as a sport, the sport really started with this concept that anyone and everyone could do it. And that was kind of the point. The point of functional fitness in its very early stages was to create health and fitness in a way that was useful to you in everyday life. So that's kind of this concept of functional movements, where we're doing movements that mimic the things that you have to do in your everyday life. So things like squatting down, you do that every time you sit down in a chair and stand up, or when you have to pick something up off the ground, that's a pulling movement that we do, kind of like deadlifting, or reaching up to put something away on a high shelf, that's a pressing motion. We do those. So the movements we do mimic things you do in everyday life. So really the concept of the sport started with this idea that across our lifespan, we should be doing these movements and doing this sport in order to stay healthy and fit in a way that's actually going to benefit us, not when we're just in the gym, but also when we're out in the real world. So our whole sport is based around this idea that everyone should be moving this way. So it's really important to us as an organization that we get people engaged in the sport across the lifespan, because we just feel it's so good for you as a human being, right? In terms of your health and your fitness. So we want kids, the young athletes, to learn how to move and have fun moving, but how to move correctly. So they have those good movement patterns and those good habits that they take into adulthood. And then when we look particularly all the way into the older age groups, once you're into, your 60s, your 70s, your 80s, in order to live an independent life, you need to be doing all those movements that are part of functional fitness. You need to be able to sit and stand by yourself, to pick something up off the ground, to get yourself up off the ground if you fall. That's a burpee is essentially what that movement is, and that's something we do. So we really feel that this is a sport you not only should be doing because it's fun across your lifespan, but you need to be doing it in order to live a healthy, independent life as you age. So it's the sport for all concept is foundational to who we are as a sport. And that's why it's so important to us as an organization. In our sport, I think there are stories that come out, every day of people whose lives are changed by doing the sport. And we really see this at the club level with our national federations and the work they're doing. So there are functional fitness clubs all around the world. And when people walk in the doors to these clubs, probably 95% of the time, maybe even 99% of the time, they don't come in necessarily with this idea of, I want to compete in the sport and I want to, win a world championship. They walk in the door of a functional fitness club with the idea of, I want to improve my life and I want to be healthier. So we see every day, these people coming in, they're doing the sport at a recreational level, but they're losing, hundreds of pounds in the process. We have stories of people who have lost, that much weight doing this, who get strong enough to pick up their grandkids or pick up their kids, off the ground and play with them, and have the energy to do that where they didn't before. Stories from people with disabilities who get stronger and are able to move their bodies and live more independent lives. And that's happening on such a large scale. And it's happening every day in these functional fitness clubs around the world. And it's just it has such an amazing impact on the community. And it's really the foundation of our sport. And it's life-changing for these people. And there are so many coaches around the world who are doing great work every single day to help people change their lives through functional fitness. Overall, for me, means inclusion. It means that regardless of how old you are, regardless of your, financial status or your race or your ethnicity or your background, that there's opportunities for you to participate in sport. And that is, by making sure that we are including everyone in sport, that's how we build a healthier and a better world. And that is sport for all to me.